What prompted the decision to build? Our first year leasing, we set up just underneath a shed roof outside, something that we could take down when we ended the lease. We quickly just realized how much time you spend in the wash pack station. I don't have it broken down by percentages, but we spend a ton of time in here. So we really wanted to make a space that was comfortable to work in, that was pretty pleasing to the eye because we're going to be in there so much. So we chose to use some wood paneling in places that weren't going to get wet, just to bring like a natural feel into the place. And we also chose to have a lot of light in here. We can put curtains over, especially during the summer, to keep it from getting too hot. But we knew that we wanted to also focus on extending our season and selling greens in the winter. So we wanted to bring a lot of light in here to heat the place up and to make it nice to work in. So the combination of just recognizing, very early on how important the wash pack station is. I remember listening to a podcast or reading something about how a wash pack station can really be kind of a make or break part of the farm. And I agree, because we really try and present, the customer is not seeing all of the steps of growing. What they're seeing is the final product. So if we can give them a really nice final product, that's kind of their vision of our farm, or their impression of our farm. So it is, we have utmost importance to just clean everything as well as we can, have a consistent quality. And so I feel that having a comfortable place to work in really makes that easier for us. So the planning and build process, I guess, as I mentioned earlier, we had like an overall vision, a thought of where we were going, and we looked at the steps that were needed in order to get there. So we knew eventually that we wanted to locate 2 coolers inside the barn, but we couldn't do that right away. We had a mobile cold storage that we now have on the other side of our barn, kind of right where we're standing in the beginning, as an example. And in a way, not building that right away gave us a couple years. Now we built it differently than we would have right away. So the design process really went from identifying this front portion of the barn as where we wanted to be spending our time because of the light, because it's the closest to the gardens. But it did give us some flexibility, not just building the whole thing right away, really getting into this space, seeing how we were going to use it and make modifications to it. So we had drawn up plans, had thought about it, and it was a goal that we were working towards, but that goal has since changed in the last 4 years since we've been here. So the first year we were on our farm, we were still leasing our old land, cover cropping this land, getting it ready to start growing the following season. And so that second full season when we were here, we were starting to use this space, but it looked a lot different. That winter, we got a grant from the Vermont Department of Agriculture, a produce safety grant. And that was $10,000. That really helped us. That was a big push to insulate this space. So I think we spent a little bit more than that, but that was really the bulk of what we spent to insulate this space very well. Put some PVC paneling on the walls, and then from there, we've just done improvements every year. The following year, we were able to put a trench drain in. So that first year, we were literally hauling water out of here. By the end of the year, it was excruciating. So I think the first thing we did that fall, or the first thing in the spring, was put a trench drain inside the building. So we just rented the tools from Home Depot, looked for kind of an industrial heavy-duty trench drain with a metal grate, and located it as best we could with what we were working with and where we knew we were going to have the bulk of the water. Then the following year, this year, we got another grant through NOFA, the Farmer of the Month Award, and that really helped us bring electricity to the barn and dig underground water right into the barn. So at first we were working with this hydrant outside the barn, and this year, up until the last 3 weeks, we've been working with water directly into the barn, which was another huge improvement. We had to break out a section, dig straight from where we have our water source and put year-round water right into the barn. The electricity has also been a huge improvement. Not running off of extension cords. We have outlets just right where we need them. We have really good light in the barn. We have light outside, because often in the spring, I guess less in the fall, but in the spring you find yourself maybe working after dusk, so having like really good light is important. Yeah, the design process really continues. At the beginning of this year, I thought we were going to build our our cooler in one place, and someone who was working with us and my wife, who just have a different, they're maybe not here every single day, and they're able to look at it with different eyes, really suggested we put it in another place, and I started thinking about it and thought that was a really good idea because it allowed us some more flexibility. So we'll show you that. But I think that with the design process, being open to feedback, being open to everybody's input, people who work here, people who just come by and see it with the objective view is really helpful, and kind of making the decisions when you have to, because the more time you have to design, the better. Including the cooler, including all the improvements we've done, we have at least $25,000 into this space by now. And we probably, to get it to really where we want it to be, we might need to invest another $25,000.
Does that include the grants received?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, actually, we've made so many improvements and modifications coming out of what we're earning from the farm. So it's probably a bit more than that. I'd have to really look at all the expenses. But yeah, so it's probably more than $30,000 at this point.
Yeah.
Of all that we put in.
Sure.
Because there are some major expenses that you wouldn't. I remember when I went on a tour of some wash stations and someone shared with me that they'd put $25,000 in. It just seemed mind-boggling, especially coming from a farm where we were leasing land and had set something up for $500. But once you get into bringing electricity, 100 amp line, bringing water, digging trenches, which a lot of it we were able to do ourselves. But even still, all the materials, insulation is incredibly expensive. And if, we've hired help to also to do this, those costs to really get set up are, it's a huge barrier, and it's expensive to get a permanent wash pack station up and running. This project, without a doubt, has resulted in increased capacity and sales. Having a really clean place to wash and pack with lights lets us offer a better, more consistent product. And so that has created more sales, and the volume that we can now do through here, because we have water, both a water source and drains right in the room, has definitely led to increased sales. We also have a bulk tank that we modified that just holds a lot more water, holds a lot more green. So we've looked for the equipment we needed as we've scaled, because when we started our business too, we didn't have access to as big of a market as we have now. That we've been around for 5 years, but now we're really starting to get rolling. I think it takes that long to really start to get rolling, so that the community knows you. You've also shown that you can grow reliable, consistent products, and to start generating sales. So it's been an incremental kind of process to get there, but the wash pack station has most definitely resulted in increased capacity and sales and profit, because we're not cold outside sorting through things one by one under the rain. We always have a well-lit, nice working environment.